Hare Krishna, we are live. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us today in the study of Srimad-Bhagavatam. आज हम Srimad-Bhagavatam में Canto 1, Chapter 17, Skand 1, Adhyay 17. How Parīkṣit received the age of Kali. इसको study करेंगे इस chapter को. Please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Hare Krishna.
हरि बोल। सभी का अभिनंदन है दर्शकों का ऑन दिस श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास। आज हम कर रहे हैं कैंटो 1 चैप्टर 16 और
17.
इज
How
इट
Parīkṣit
17?
received the age of Kali. Yes, we covered it in the previous. Oh, chapter 16. Yes, sorry. Hare Krishna.
So, शीतल चांदना, कौशल किशोर, विंस्टन पूछून, राजू धूरी, प्रवीण पांड्या, सिमी तलवार, हरे कृष्णा फ्रेंड्स, रीना छेत्री, बासवराज, अशोक भाई, वासुदेवन रेड्डी, राकेश चौधरी, सिद्धार्थ, हरे कृष्णा आप सभी को, अशोक तनवर, सीमा लेखी। आई होप आप सब बहुत ही अच्छा वीकेंड आप सबका निकल रहा है। और इस वक्त जब आप श्रवण कर रहे हैं श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास का, आप सब अपनी फ्री विल यूज़ करते हुए भगवान की भक्ति में एंगेज हो रहे हैं। दिस इज़ अ ग्रेटेस्ट ब्लेसिंग। और आज प्रभु जी कवर करेंगे चैप्टर 16 कैंटो 1 श्रीमद् भागवतम।
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirye Shautam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayam Tasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today the theme is how by taking to devotional service, how by serving Lord Shri Krishna with love, with devotion, we can ward off the effect of this Kali age, and not just the effect of this Kali age, but even liberate ourselves, transcend the three modes of material nature and go back home, back to Godhead. कैसे हम भगवान की भक्ति में लीन होकर उनको प्रेम पूर्वक श्रद्धा पूर्वक उनको सर्व करते हुए ना सिर्फ इस कली एज के जो दुष्प्रभाव हैं उनसे ही मुक्त हो सकते हैं, बट ऑल्सो वी कैन गो बैक होम, बैक टू गॉड। हम कैसे वैकुंठ धाम भगवान के गोलोक वृंदावन तक में प्रवेश कर सकते हैं, इसकी पोटेंसीज बताई हैं। और आज के चैप्टर में द इफेक्ट्स ऑफ कली एज उनको बताया गया है, एंड आवर फोकस इज गोइंग टू बी ऑन द संस्कार्स, लाइक द वेरियस इंप्रेशंस and how it differs in material consciousness versus Krishna consciousness. So please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 16, how Parīkṣit received the age of Kali. Hare Krishna. Sutta Uvacha तथा परीक्षित द्विजवय शिक्षया महिं महाभागवतः शशासः यथा हि सुत्याम विजात कोविदः समादिशन् विप्र महद गुणस्तथा। एंड इस वर्ष को दूसरे मीटर पे भी गाया जा सकता है। हरे कृष्ण। यस, संस्कृत इज sung, not just spoken. हरे कृष्ण। सूत उवाच तथा परीक्षित द्विजवय शिष्यया महिं महाभागवतः शशासः यथा हि सुत्याम अभिजात कोविदः समादिशन् विप्र महद्गुणस्तथा। Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Suta Goswami said, O learned Brahmanas, Maharaj Parīkṣit then began to rule over the world as a great devotee of the Lord under the instructions of the best of the twice born Brahmanas. He ruled by those great qualities which were foretold by expert astrologers at the time of his birth. Hare Krishna. So we'll be discussing the purport and all the following aspects of this chapter during the discussion later on. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pankum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So the very first verse, we can talk for days, not just hours. You know, this verse is revealing to us how a king should be carrying out his ruling, administration. कैसे एक राजा अपने, you know, स्वधर्म का पालन करता है, अपनी prescribed duties, you know, execute करता है. And परीक्षित महाराज, उनके birth के बारे में हम लोगों ने discuss किया था. You know, the birth of Maharaj Parīkṣit, that was Jata Dharma Samskar. So now today, आज हम discuss करेंगे the various samskar. Samskar is impressions, right? From two perspectives, material consciousness and Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So let's spend 5 minutes on understanding samskaras. You know, in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, the samskaras have been carried out as been instructed, you know, through the Vedas, through the revealed scriptures. But these have a perverted reflection in material consciousness. It's interesting that they are also carried out, but in material consciousness they are completely perverted and they lose the essential quality to purify us, right? So in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, one of the first samskaras after, you know, in a family life, when a man and a woman, they're married, and they do is Garbhadhan samskara. And it is not a closed door effort, it is an open, it's not that that is performed openly, but it is celebrated with the mood that husband and wife, they are meeting together so that they would get a Kṛṣṇa conscious child. So it is, you know, great festivities are performed, blessings are received, and they engage in devotional service with purification of mind and invoking Lord's mercy. So they are constantly praying to the Lord that let a Kṛṣṇa conscious child be born to us. So that is the mood in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. In material consciousness, yes, again it is behind the doors, but it is considered a secret affair. And it is at the level of cats and dogs, Srila Prabhupada says. He uses very strong words, right? But those are facts. So we should accept that sometimes the truth could be very unpleasant. It should be spoken in a pleasing manner, yes, that is austerity of voice. So he's putting it very nice with perspective. Srila Prabhupada is revealing that Garbhadhan samskara, while it is performed, you know, in the shelter of Lord, because Lord Kṛṣṇa, he says that I am also sex, which is not, you know, against the religious principle. So in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, even that, you know, husband and wife coming together to beget a child is with Kṛṣṇa consciousness as per the religious principles. But here in material consciousness, they are seeking sense enjoyment. Srila Prabhupada called it skin disease, right? Mathunagraha, that's another name for this material universe. So इस material universe के अंदर जो shackles हैं हमको, वो इसी तरह से शारीरिक attraction के कारण हैं. तो उसमें they are coming together to enjoy themselves. While in Kṛṣṇa consciousness पे, you know, husband and wife, they're coming together to get a God conscious, Kṛṣṇa conscious child, to get Lord's mercy. So that Garbhadhan samskara. So this is for improvement. The parents are continuously purifying themselves and requesting the Lord so that even the child that comes to the family further purifies them. So this is self-improvement, this is self-glorification, self-enjoyment, self-gratification in material consciousness that we see. While in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is purifying. So samskar is impression, right? To purify ourselves. This is Kṛṣṇa consciousness. In material consciousness, what is it? It is to impress others, to seek sense gratification, to exploit others. So that has been a constant as we'll talk about different samskaras. So another samskar that comes is when the baby is in the womb. So the mother, she has conceived, there is an embryo in the womb. So at that time there is a samskar done, for the purification of the mother and the baby. And this is an impression created so that the mother, she engages more in hearing Lord's glories. We hear about Prahlad Maharaj's birth, right? So when Devashi Narad took Kayadu to his ashram, at that time she was listening to, Lord's name, fame, activities and glories from Devashi Narad. And the baby in the womb was also hearing. Prahlad Maharaj, he attained all Krishna conscious knowledge, और जो भी ज्ञान था भगवान के बारे में, उनका नाम, उनका रूप, उनकी जो लीलाएं हैं, उनकी सारी ग्लोरीज उन्होंने अपने मदर के वोम में ही सीख ली थी, सुन ली थी जब आप देवशी नारद से. सो उस समय ही अपने आप देवशी नारद उनके स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर बन गए. जबकि मटेरियल कॉन्शियसनेस सेम activity is being done, but in the name of baby shower, right? We see that people are carrying out baby showers. Let's do baby shower. Let's gather, some funds so that we give various gifts to the mother. But it is from the material consciousness. Mother is feeling that I'm getting all these gifts, so my baby would be pampered, and she is making plans accordingly. And it's more of glorification, right? To be able to see how sensually we are enjoying and how sensually we are going to give comfort to the baby. Not looking at the real business of the baby, the soul in the baby. Will that soul be purified? So that is material consciousness. They are not looking for that. They are seeking sensual gratification. The baby will have nice dresses. Yes. So this is the cage. Another analogy जो शास्त्र में आती है, श्रील प्रभुपाद डिस्कस करते हैं कि जैसे एक पंछी है पिंजरे में, right? A bird in a cage. So if you keep cleaning the cage, that's what is happening in material consciousness. But you're not feeding the bird. So if you're not feeding the bird, automatically the bird dies. So we should take care of the soul, but that's not in material consciousness. That in Krishna consciousness we can do that by and the most potent form is of the devotional services is the process is shamanam, hearing, most potent. So when the baby hears about name, form, activities and glories of Lord Shri Krishna, then it elevates from its stage. So it's not that ऐसा नहीं है कि आप बेबी के बर्थ के बाद में ही उसको सिखा सकते हैं. आपके वूम में जैसे ही बेबी आता है, जो माताएं हैं उनको समझना चाहिए, and जो लेडीज हैं, at that time it is the responsibility of a mother to hear about the name, form, activities, glories, to hear kirtan, to hear about great devotees, the acharyas, to read Bhagavad Gita, to read Srimad-Bhagavatam. So these are amazing scriptures that we should be constantly reading. And इस तरह से जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो इससे हमारा भी मन शुद्ध होता है, और जो बालक है वो में जो एम्ब्रियो है उसको भी enlightenment मिलता है. So in Krishna consciousness we are constantly improving our situation, right? So this impression is for us to make improvement, while the impression in material consciousness is to impress, right, others, and to kind of like create an arrangement for sensual pleasure. So now another thing that we discussed, the birth of Parīkṣit Maharaj is Jat Dharma. जैसे बेबी का birth होता है, they are great astrologers. They immediately at that very moment, knowing the exact time and place and date, they would create a whole astrological chart. So again, they would identify what are the activities the baby would do, how long the baby will live, what was the baby in the previous life, and what he will be in the next life. Can you imagine that? There are those kind of astrologers. Srila Prabhupada अपने lectures में भी describe करते हैं that these were the kind of astrologers that are still there. Once again, science. It's a science. Astrology is a science. Logic refers to study, right? And you study science. So ऐसे में these astrologers revealed कि परीक्षित महाराज जो हैं, he will be cursed. उनकी death कैसे होगी? He will be cursed by a Brahman, and so he will die, but he will be able to attain liberation. He will be able to go back home. So हमारा goal क्या है life का? कि हम वापस भगवान के पास जाना चाहते हैं, भगवान की शरण में, भगवान की सेवा में लीन रहना चाहते हैं, उसी से हमें खुशी मिलती है. दैट इज आवर ओनली सोलेस, राइट. तो ऐसे में हमें जो कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस में जो संस्कार हैं उनको फॉलो करना चाहिए, ना कि मटेरियल कॉन्शियसनेस में. मटेरियल कॉन्शियसनेस में इट लीड्स टू सेंसुअल प्लेजर, लीड्स टू फॉल डाउन, और फॉल डाउन होने से तो भाई हमें पाप योनियां मिलती है, एंड दैट इज अ वेरी मिजरेबल कंडीशन. रादर वी शुड बी in this association of devotees, singing and chanting all the time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. And we should make a very effort, right? And when the baby grows up, first time जब उसको solid food दिया जाता है, so there in Vedic civilization, baby used to take mother's milk before it takes that, after the birth. And then when it decides to, they say, okay, the baby is going to take some other food, then it is also a samskar, a celebration. जो अन्न का शुरू होता है, ऐसे ही जब स्कूल जाता है तब संस्कार है. So all of them are oriented towards Krishna consciousness, how the baby is going to improve itself. तो baby को ये नहीं है कि कुछ भी टाइप का fancy food खिला रहे हैं सब लोग. जबकि material consciousness, that's what they do. The baby is now switching over. Baby has never tasted the mother's milk, now switching over to other kind of food. So without even knowing, they have led to that, material consciousness, and the food is not very palatable. I can tell you this. I have two kids, and we were told that the babies are growing up, so now they need other kind of food. So we got that other kind of food which comes in bottles, which was recommended, right? So I opened one of the bottle and I tasted it. It was not good. I could not. So it was, sometimes parents should also try to taste. They say that this is baby food. When it tastes more like, plastic and metal, that's the kind of taste it has. Because उसको इतना ज़्यादा process कर दिया है कि उसकी nutritional value ही खत्म हो गई है. So we have to be very, very careful. Rather, in Vedic civilization, they would prepare sattvic food, palatable, fatty, juicy food, nourishing to the body, and then they would offer it to the Lordship, right? The bhoga offering करते हैं. उसके बाद में जब वो प्रसाद बन जाता है, वो बेबी को देते हैं, और वो भी इतना delicious, and there is a very nice combination of things. तो ऐसे में food in three modes of material nature भी हमने discuss किया. जो सात्विक food होता है, वो बेबी को nourishing होता है. तो ऐसे में it is to purify the baby's existence, to purify baby's consciousness. भगवद गीता में बहुत अच्छी तरह बताया है. तो जब संस्कारों में हम लोग ये सेलिब्रेट करते हैं, अन्न का जो बिगनिंग होता है बेबी के लिए, उसको जो लेना होता है फूड ग्रेन्स, that is nutritious for the body and especially for the mind. Milk is miracle food. उसको glorify किया है इस चैप्टर के अंदर. We'll come to the chapter, but I'm giving a gist of the good samskars versus, in Krishna consciousness, the impressions. Samskar means impressions, and the impressions in material consciousness. Just try to understand कि ये समझने की कोशिश करिए कि इन कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस, भगवान की भक्ति में जो संस्कार मिलते हैं, वो हमारे को किस तरह से उभारते हैं, हमारे व्यक्तित्व को, हमारे कैरेक्टर को एस्टैब्लिश करते हैं, for our purification, not for the show off. It is for improvement. It is not for impressing others. While in material consciousness, everything is on impressing others. This is to show others that yes, we are so well off. This is to exploit others. This is to, basically focused on name, fame, and glories. That is material consciousness. And in Krishna consciousness, it is for the name, fame, and glories of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So again, that is the focus. So एक जगह पे a person is putting themselves in material consciousness, himself, the body in the center, the senses in the center. In Krishna consciousness, one is putting Lord Krishna is in the center. And with love, with devotion, when serves Lord Shri Krishna, all the effects, not just of the Kali age, but of the three modes of material nature, they go away. And one becomes completely free, liberates oneself. Right? Devi hi Aisha Guramai, Mama Maya Duratya, Mamevya Prapadyante, Maya Vetam Tarantite. So Lord Krishna says that whoever takes shelter of me, जो भी मेरी शरण में आता है. I am a, he is able to cross over this ocean of nations. ये जो ocean है, and in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, भगवान कृष्ण खुद बता रहे हैं कि I'm a swift deliverer. मैं बहुत आसानी से ऐसे भक्त जो मेरी भक्ति में लीन है, उनको इस मृत्यु संसार का जो सागर है, इससे बहुत आसानी से तर लेता हूँ, उनको उठा लेता हूँ. And the process, as we understand, is taking on that cruise ship, right? That cruise journey of Sankirtan Yajna, where everyone is chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Everyone is dancing. Everyone is, relishing and getting purified by tasting prasad, which is so nutritious and for the body and for the soul. So yes, materialists, they say food for the thought. Well, we are actually having a perfect program of recreation in Krishna consciousness. We sing, we dance, we study in that process, because when we actually reach Srimad-Bhagavatam, our heart is singing, our soul is dancing. And in that mood, when we are serving the Lordship in a happy mood, because in spiritual world, every word is a song and every step is a dance. So this is why the verses in Srimad-Bhagavatam and all the glorified scriptures, they are in Sanskrit. Sanskrit comes from Sanskriti, from culture, right? And this culture, when you think of plant culture, right? A plant culture, look at it analytically. Even, when you convert it, it is to make the plant grow in a very suitable environment. So this is what it is. The Sanskriti, the Sanskrit language, which is, the language not just of the devas, but of the spiritual world. It enables us to flower. If we have, flowers, we bloom fully. If we have plants, we nourish and we grow fully. So it is enabling the soul. Jivera Surupoya Krishnera Nityadas. So it enables us to come to our true position, to engage in Lord Krishna's service. And कल हमने किस तरह से डिस्कस किया था, कितनी प्यारी प्यारी remembrance थी अर्जुन की, that how Lord Krishna constantly protected him and constantly looked after him. Sometimes he even jokingly ridiculed Lord Shri Krishna, but he was so merciful that he would just smile, and sometimes yes, he would even nod. When Arjun in Bhagavad Gita said, "Oh my dear Lord, I did not know your glories. मेरे को पता नहीं था कि आप सुप्रीम पर्सनालिटी ऑफ गॉडहेड हैं, और मैंने आपको कैसे यदु करके बुलाया, हे कृष्णा करके एड्रेस किया." हे कृष्णा के दो मीनिंग होते हैं, एक तो ऑल अट्रैक्टिव, राइट? कृष्णा मीन्स ऑल अट्रैक्टिव. अनदर वन इज ब्लैक. So that is also Srila Krishna Dvaipanya Vyasdev, right? उनको नाम कृष्ण क्यों मिला था? Because he was not at all attractive. Why was he named Krishna? Sometimes people ask. Because he was very dark. Lord Krishna is also dark, but his complexion is like a rainy cloud. While Lord Balaram, his complexion is like a spring white cloud. So again, so they are both cloud-like, but that shows us that yet he is all attractive. So we have to understand from that perspective that the word may have various different meanings in different contexts. And here Arjun was calling sometimes, thinking that Lord Krishna, is my friend, he's my cousin, he's my relative, right? He's my wife's brother. So again, and it is also being identified by Srila Prabhupada in his lectures that, in the old times, marrying the daughter of Mama, maternal uncle, was actually a very aristocratic thing. But it stopped happening in the northern India area. But in southern India, still, many families, they, the groom, the boy, they accept the daughter of his maternal uncle, Mama ki beti se, बहुत शादियां होती हैं. So that is the only combination of first cousins getting married, which is allowed in the Shastras, because what happens is that girl that is born is coming from the womb of her mother, who is from another family, right? Mami jo hai, she is from another family. So that way, the genes, they don't contradict and they don't cause genetic defects. While in current times, we see that just because, okay, cousins can be married, the son and daughter of two sisters are getting married, and their genetical defects we are seeing, because that was never prescribed. So in Krishna consciousness we should understand what was there. Similarly, Maharaj Parīkṣit, when he became the king, so it is not that becoming a king and then ruling the kingdom, one should just do it as a dictatorship. This is material consciousness. People say, oh, in Vedic civilization they talked about dictatorship. No, in Krishna consciousness, when we understand it right, Maharaj Parīkṣit, he was a great devotee of the Lord. So he was a qualified person on that level. Then he had received instructions from the best of the Brahmanas. Not just Brahmanas, but the best of the Brahmanas. Kripacharya was his spiritual master. So we should understand that he accepted, the instructions, and his cabinet ministers were not, his advisors were not something that he would choose randomly. I want to do favor on you. So again, this is material consciousness. People would vote. So a blind leading a blind. This is actually coming from our Shastras. And Western world adopted it. They understood it, that a blind is leading a blind and everyone is falling in a ditch. That is Westerners, but it's actually coming from a Shastra that Andhakupam. Material life, family life sometimes is referred to that way as well. So a blind is leading a blind because they are not looking for that to qualify themselves for the position. Rather, they are based on voting. And so if 100 blind men, follow one blind man, what is their destination? A blind path can lead to all kind of tribulations, anxieties, and that is the effect of Kali Age. So this is material consciousness, and that's where in material consciousness people are unhappy, and they have this tendency, oh, we choose who is going to be. Sometimes, this is also not properly taken. So this is also Sahajiya's attitude. Sometimes people just think that I'm the authority without paying attention. What do Shastras say? What are the teachings of Acharyas? What did Srila Prabhupada tell us? So Srila Prabhupada said, nothing should be changed. Everything as I have established should be carried on and further expanded. So when he talked about, then they started doing expansion, on their own. And this happened in the very, in one of the verses, as Srila Prabhupada was, giving his lecture on Srimad-Bhagavatam, this chapter in Los Angeles in 1973, there was Utpadaya, there was a word, right? And somebody had, even then, when Srila Prabhupada was here, changed the meaning from produce to begot, because in translation, Srila Prabhupada used the word begot, right? And so it's in the second verse. Basically, it was, Utpadayat. Srila Prabhupada said, when when one of the devotee, he was reading word for word translation, he said, Utpadayat begot. Srila Prabhupada said, begot? No, it should be produced. In the translation, it is begot. So we understand that जो संस्कृत के words का translation है, they should not be changed like that. But people being influenced, thinking that they are bigger scholars than the acharyas, that's materialist scholars, right? But we have to understand the context. It is still produced because there is a facility that has been provided by the material energy. Husband and wife, they come together. Now here in this example, sometimes people say, okay, we hear about Arjun marrying Subhadra, who was sister of Lord Kṛṣna. And Lord Kṛṣna and Arjun, they were first cousins. Vasudev, father of Lord Kṛṣna, is real brother of Queen Kunti. So Vasudev is Mama of Arjun, and Mama's daughter is Subhadra. Subhadra is married to Arjun. So where is there another example? Well, right here. Parīkṣit Maharaj, he marries the daughter of Uttar. So his Parīkṣit Maharaj's mother's name is Uttaram, right? She is the daughter of the king of Virat Raj. And then he had also one son, and his son's name was Uttar. And Uttar had a daughter, right? And Iravati, I believe that's the name. And so from her, Parīkṣit Maharaj got 4 sons. And Janmejaya was the eldest one. And he is also a very glorified king. He was also one of the Rajarishi, because he was also receiving instructions from the best of the Brahmanas, and he carried out wonderful activities, and he was very benevolently disposed towards the Brahmanical culture. So he was constantly seeking the spiritual growth of his praja, of his citizens. And praja included not just human beings, but anyone who is born in that region, right? But in today's time, administrators, they make multiple promises for material benefit, right? लोगों को बहुत सारे promises देते हैं, voting करो हमारे लिए, so that we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll give you this. And they are all material things, right? They are attracting material consciousness of people. So they are only trying to satisfy the senses of various people. Their focus is not on spiritual growth. Spiritual growth to तब होगी ना जब they are devotees of the Lord, but they are not devotees of the Lord currently. What we see, and those who are devotees of the Lord are constantly being pushed in the wrong direction because of the influence of others, and they are not selecting their cabinet. Means again, material consciousness. They are not looking at their advisors to be the best of the Brahmanas. They are actually, for their glorification, for their sense gratification, they select the cabinet members. So this person I want to be on my cabinet, and if they are unhappy, they kick them off and bring another one. That was not the Vedic culture. In Krishna consciousness, the Vedic culture shows us that the Brahmanas, the best of the Brahmanas, would be the advisors to the king. And if the king is not doing right, then they can throw away that king from the throne. And if he doesn't want to get down, then they can even kill that king just by the chanting of mantras. It's not that they would pick up a weapon and then kill the king. Just by chanting the mantras, they could kill the king. Now people say, there's an example of such an incident. King Vena, son of King Anga, he was one of those kind of kings. So when he was a child, King Vena, when playing, he was so cruel that when playing with his friends, sometimes he would get upset and angry at them and would kill them. And when he became the king, he was not a very good king. He was seeking with material consciousness. He was thinking, because it is said in the Shastras, I'm a representative of God, so the king should be treated as God. So he misunderstood. So when the Brahmana said, my dear king, please try to improve your ways. Please try to administer nicely. अच्छी तरह से ना राज करो, भगवान के संरक्षण में जैसा स्क्रिप्चर्स में दिया है वैसे एडमिनिस्टर करो. He said, you Brahmanas don't understand. आप लोग समझते नहीं हैं. मैं भगवान हूँ. I am God. At that time, the Brahmanas, Jamdagni and other Brahmanas, they all became very upset. So they started chanting mantras. And just by the influence of the mantras, King Vena died. But then he had no son. So at that time, following the Shastras, they were able to, churn his body to get a son. And this son of Vena was Prithu Maharaj, yes, an incarnation of the Lord. We'll be hearing those glories later on in Srimad-Bhagavatam. So such is the case. When we take shelter of Lord Shri Krishna, when we serve Lord Shri Krishna, by the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna, when we serve him with love, right? हम भगवान को जब प्रेम पूर्वक, भक्ति पूर्वक उनकी सेवा करते हैं, उनके डिवोशन सर्विस में एंगेज रहते हैं, तो हमें कोई भी कली का इफेक्ट नहीं हो सकता. So कली का इफेक्ट क्यों है? Because of material consciousness, the various kind of impressions we are building, we are developing from the very early stage of our life, when we were in the womb of our mother, from that time onward, right? And so it's continuing. As we grow, we go to school. Nobody wants to go to school, right? In today's time, if you ask a small child first day of school, they would cry. But in Krishna consciousness, baby इतना ज़्यादा purify हो जाते थे that they would want to know more about Lord, because He's all attractive. So the children from the very early age, Prahlad Maharaj कहते हैं, from the Kumar age, 5 years onward, the children should be made Krishna conscious. And in Krishna consciousness, one of the things parents do is that from the early age itself, they make the child see, how to do deity worship and so forth. And from 5 years onward itself, they give them deities, right? Lord Jagannath is very merciful. Lord Gaurasundar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very merciful. So sometimes in devotee families we see that the children receive Gaura-Nita as the deities, Lord Jagannath, Subhadra and Baldev as the deities, and they learn to, बच्चे जो हैं बचपन से ही कैसे पूजा करते हैं, फूल चढ़ा रहे हैं, लैम्प चढ़ा रहे हैं, ऑफरिंग कर रहे हैं, धूप का ऑफरिंग कर रहे हैं. इस तरह से बच्चे जब धीरे धीरे सीखते हैं, एंड देन इट इज़ वेरी मच एनकरेज. श्रील प्रभुपाद अब तक खुद का एग्जाम्पल देते हैं कि उनके जो फादर थे उनको बचपन में ही डीटीज दिए, एंड देन ही वाज एंगेज, एंड देन वो अपनी स्ट्रीट में उनके फादर ने इनको छोटा सा कार्ड खरीद के दिया, तो उसमें रथ यात्रा फेस्टिवल मनाते थे. नाउ दैट became the Rath Yatra festival at San Francisco, the very first one, which was so magnanimous, इतना opulent तरीके से श्रील प्रभुपाद ने and his disciples, they all the Western people. तो ऐसे में we understand कि बचपन में जो हम एक्टिविटी करते हैं वो बड़े होकर मैग्नीफाई होती हैं. तो अगर बचपन में ही साइंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन किया तो बड़े होकर क्या होगा? मोर साइंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन, मटेरियल कॉन्शियसनेस फॉल डाउन. जब बचपन में ही डिवोशनल सर्विस किया तो बड़े होकर क्या होगा? इवन ग्रेटर डिवोशनल सर्विस, और ज्यादा भक्ति में लगेंगे, और ज्यादा प्रोग्रेस करेंगे स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ पे. द बर्ड इन द केज, राइट? जो पिंजरे में बर्ड है, जो सोल है हमारी बॉडी के अंदर, हम जो है एक्चुअली वी आर द लिविंग एंटिटीज, वी आर द सोल. जीवेरा स्वरूप केशव मित्रदास. तो वी विल गेट नरिश्ड, एंड व्हाट इज आवर नरिशमेंट? Engagement in bhakti, that is our nourishment. Eating prasadam only, that is our nourishment. Eating sattvic food, not food in tamoguna or rajoguna, because even the rajoguna food, which is very spicy, very just it is flavorful, yes, but it is putting with various kind of chemicals, heavy processing. So ऐसे में that kind of food is very bad for our health, and that causes diseases, that causes pain, that causes disturbance in the body, and we cannot perform nicely devotional service if our body is not well. So we should make every effort to keep the body fit, but not overindulge in sense gratification.
Hare Kṛṣna.
Hare Kṛṣna.
There are some requests about the volume. Can I request the viewers, आप में से जो भी ठीक से सुन पा रहे हैं प्लीज़ कमेंट करिए अगर वॉल्यूम ठीक है. वी वुड लाइक टू नो, क्योंकि देर आर सम रिक्वेस्ट कि उन्हें सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है. वी वॉन्ट टू रूल आउट द पॉसिबिलिटी कि उनके खुद के फ़ोन या लैपटॉप पे वॉल्यूम कम हो सकता है सेटिंग में. तो प्लीज़ व्यूअर्स, दर्शक, आप में से कुछ लोग कमेंट करिए अगर आप वॉल्यूम, प्रभु जी की आवाज़ ठीक ठाक सुनाई दे रही हो अगर आपको, तो प्लीज़ कमेंट इट, प्लीज़.
हरे कृष्णा. तो परीक्षित महाराज, he was a Kshatriya king, और proper qualification के साथ he became. So he was placed under the guardianship of Yuyutsu. So Maharaj Parīkṣit was a young boy at that time. तो उनकी मदर उत्तरा उनके साथ थी, और Yuyutsu was one of the Kshatriya warrior in general. उनके गाइडेंस में उनको युधिष्ठिर महाराज ने एस्टैब्लिश कर दिया as the emperor of the world. And as an emperor of the world, he was very anxious to make sure कि सबका spiritual advancement हो रहा है, सब लोग कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस में एडवांस कर रहे हैं, अपनी prescribed duties nicely carry out कर रहे हैं. So he, even though there was an influence of time that Yudhishthir Maharaj observed, he set everything nice. And जैसा ऋषियों ने उनके बर्थ के समय उनकी एस्ट्रोलॉजी में बताया था, जैसे उनकी जन्म कुंडली में बताया था, उसी तरह से very righteously he was carrying out his administration, just like एक father अपने बेटे का ख्याल, बच्चों का ख्याल रखता है, वैसे ही परीक्षित महाराज अपनी प्रजा का ख्याल रख रहे थे. And everything was going on very nicely, and suddenly he heard about Kali age, that Kali age has come, Kali age personified. And how does Kali age enter at this time? So at Lord Krishna's, as he was departing, partially Kali age had manifested. But now, after Lord Krishna departed, जब भगवान कृष्ण अपने धाम चले गए, गोलोक वृंदावन धाम, तो Kali age अपने पूरे फॉर्म में आ गया. And how is he coming? He's pulling his mother. So again, that description is not in here. Hare Krishna.
आप जरा माइक्रोफोन टेस्ट करेंगे वॉल्यूम के लिए.
Hare Krishna, can you hear it?
हरे कृष्णा, कृपया कमेंट करेंगे अगर वॉल्यूम ठीक ठाक है. आपको प्रभु जी की आवाज सुनाई दे रही है? कैन यू स्पीक?
Can you hear me nicely? Hare Krishna.
हरि बोल. चलिए आप कैरी ऑन करिए. वी विल गेट द कमेंट्स.
Okay. So, ऐसे में one of the important aspect is, मेरे को शायद नीचे देख के बोलना पड़ेगा तो उससे माइक्रोफोन की तरफ आएगा.
नो, बट इट शुड बी ओके.
Okay. तो जो परीक्षित महाराज थे वो बहुत ही nicely he was carrying out his duties, right? When he came to know Kali came, and in the purport Srila Prabhupada explains how Kali came, right? He was pulling his mother by her hair, and he was keeping his wife bedecked with jewels and silken clothes. She is dressed very nicely on his shoulder, and he himself is dark, he is very dark in complexion, and he's dressed like a king, but he is referred to as a Shudra king. So in qualities, in his characters, he is Shudra. His activities are that of a Shudra, all abominable characteristics. Yet at the same time, this is the effect of Kali Age. So this is what we see people doing in Kali Age. They are neglecting their parents while they are very nicely serving the opposite sex. And that is only for sense gratification. So that is the focus in these times. So ऐसे में Krishna consciousness can save us if we try to, diverge ourselves from the effect of Kali Age. And what are the effects of Kali Age? Prayena alpayusha sabhya kalavasmin yuge jana manda sumanda matyo manda bhagya upradita. So in the Kali Age, Prayena alpayu. So people have short age, right? We live up to 100 years of age. While in Dwapar Yuga, people could live up to 1,000 years of age, right? 1,000 years, their lifespan was. And Kalavasmin, Kalava, so people are quarrelsome. Manda, people are lazy. Sumanda Matyo, they are less intelligent. Sumanda, Manda is less, but Su makes it very less intelligence. Matyo is intelligent. Manda Bhag, and they are unlucky. Why are they unlucky? Because they are, going in the wrong direction. They are following the wrong impressions, the materialistic impressions for sense gratification, sensual pleasure, always seeking name, fame, and glories. That is their focus. While in Krishna consciousness, keeping Lord Krishna in the center, and the impressions are, the samskaras are for our improvement, for our purification, for the glories of Lordship, for His name, fame, and qualities, spreading all around, sharing His glories and purifying the whole world. So that is the focus. The samskaras in Krishna consciousness elevate us, while in material consciousness they degrade us. So it is all up to us. We have been given free will. You have been given free will, I have been given free will. Everyone has been given free will by Lordship. So we can choose what to do. But we are also responsible for the result of our choices. Right? You cannot say, I choose this, but I want that. You cannot do those kind of combinations. So it is very important that we make the right choices. And right choices requires us to get the best instructions from the devotees of the Lord, from the acharyas. And that is important. And in Krishna consciousness, it's easy. So Krishna consciousness, devotion service is easy for a simple-minded. But it is very difficult for a crooked-minded person, one who seeks material pleasure, with material consciousness, and trying to enjoy all the things that Lord Krishna is enjoying. This reminds me of a very interesting incident. So once, एक बार क्या हुआ, Srila Prabhupada, he was in Texas, I believe, and so as he was traveling, one of the temple president उनके पास आए, और Srila Prabhupada ने श्रीमद् भागवतम में बता रहे थे कि कैसे आध्यात्मिक जगत में, वैकुंठ में, again, गोलोक वृंदावन में, Parkiya rasa, that is the topmost rasa, while it is abominable in this material world. So this person, right, he was so the devotee, he was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He said, Krishna enjoyed with the wife of others, so did he not commit adultery? Right, Parkiya rasa. So he was dancing with the gopis, they were married to other men, other gopa men, and even Radharani, she was married to Abhimanyu, who was actually, Shastras explain, that Abhimanyu is the shadow of Lord Shri Krishna. But not realizing this, he said, wasn't Krishna committing adultery? So at that time, Srila Prabhupada, he just smiled and he replied. He said, everyone and everything is the property of Krishna. So your wife is also Krishna's property. So who's committing adultery? And it is been shared on multiple media that when Srila Prabhupada said this, the person became angry. He did not speak, for quite some time. But all souls, they belong to Krishna. And Krishna's relationship from that perspective is Sokhiya, right? In marriage. Because he is the true Lord, he is the true husband of every living entity. It is from that perspective. Radharani's true husband is Krishna. But to increase the love, Parkiyaras has been identified. Sometimes people even criticize the Acharyas. Jiva Goswami, one of the Sahajiya groups, they defamed him by saying that Jiva Goswami was promoting Sakhiyaras, which is, he was not promoting Parkiyaras in case of Radha Krishna. तो ऐसे में सखिया रस और परकिया रस का क्या मतलब है? आप ये भी जानना चाहोगे. Sakhiya is like having relationship in marriage between husband and wife. Parkiya is having relationship with the wife of others. So again, but Lord Krishna is the true husband of Radharani. So they are the couple. You have to increase the sweetness. Again, it has been shown. But people who are with the Sahajiya mindset, they could not take it. So Jiva Goswami understood, these some of his disciples and the devotees who could not accept Parkiyaras, and he could also see in future. वो ये भी जान सकते समझ गए कि in future the Sahajiyas would use this Parkiyaras as an excuse to indulge in relationship with unmarried women, right? And women who are married to other men. So ऐसे में and वृंदावन में बहुत सारे ऐसे cases आते हैं जहाँ पे लोग अपने आप को गुरु और साधु कहते हैं और बहुत सारे उनके जो डिसाइपल लेडीज होते हैं उनके साथ बोलते हैं कि रास लीला कर रहे हैं, and they carry out abominable relationships with these women, and some of them even get pregnant. And this is Sahajiya mentality. So Jiva Goswami could predict, he could even, had foresight to think that yes, so that's why he said it is Sakhiya. So that way he did not want to disturb others, and he wanted to preserve the mindset. So people are engaged in devotional service. Instead of devotional service, Sahajiyas, they always want to jump to the Ras Leela, pastime of Lord Shri Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said again and again, we should study Srimad-Bhagavatam Canto by Canto. एक स्कंद के बाद में दूसरे बाद में तीसरा. ऐसे जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो हमारा प्यूरिफिकेशन होता है, राइट? आप किसी एलिमेंट्री ग्रेड के बच्चे को 11th ग्रेड में के एग्जाम में बैठा दोगे तो उसका क्या हाल होगा? वही हाल होता है सहजियस का. They are completely baffled and they fall down into abominable situations, worse than the materialist. Lord Krishna says, Namam dushkritino mura prapadyante naradhava maya pradyana asuri bhava mashyata. So he is calling such people who are dusht, right, taking excuse in material consciousness. They want to enjoy the luxuries or the benefits of Krishna consciousness. Yet at the same time, if one simply follows, again, the verse, sometimes you would say, okay, I just quoted a verse, why should I explain it? So I'm explaining the verse just for the benefit of those who are curious. Bhagavan कहते हैं, Namam dushkritino mudha. So dushkritino, he's saying that those who are demoniac, they don't surrender unto me. And what are these? Are also 4 kinds. Mudhas are like the hard labor, like asses. A donkey, an ass, engages in hard labor, but what it needs is just little grass that it can graze anywhere. But it's engaging in this hard labor to please the master who doesn't even treat him very well. So this is, beast of labor. That's why mudha has been said. So there are people who engage in hard labor, we talked about pavarga also. This is material consciousness. Material life is filled with hard labor, parishram. Then pa is pena, where the foaming happens. And then ba is where disappointment happens, bewilderment happens. And then Bha is for bhay, fear, and one becomes fearful and finally meets his death. Ma is for mrityu. So that's mura, people who are, beast of burden. Namam Dushkita Mura Prapadante Naradhama. Naradhama is the one who are the most fallen of the human race. So there are 4 lakh, 8.4 million species of life, of them 4 lakh are the humankinds. And so there are different gradations of human beings, and the ones who are at the bottom, right, those are the ones who don't surrender because they are the most fallen. They engage in all kind of abominable activities, right? They engage in slaughter, they engage in meat eating, all those bad activities. Maya Pragyana. So now this is referring to the philosophers, the doctors who are looking for the various qualifications for name, fame and glories, but their intelligence is stolen away by material energy. And Asurim Bhava, and people who have demoniac mentality, who are seeking sense gratification, like Rāma and Hiranyakashipu, want to enjoy Lakshmi Devi, who is actually very happy in serving Lord Vishnu. So similarly, like Rāma wanted to enjoy Sita Mata, who was married to Lord Ramchandra. So we see these examples in material consciousness. So when Parīkṣit Maharaj heard about this, Kali, who has come dressed like this, and he immediately got ready. So this is also showing a Kshatriya spirit. Kshatriya spirit is that they're just ready to take on the charge and punish the miscreants. And when they go to the battlefield, they stay in the front, leading the army as a leader. Not, Srila Prabhupada jokingly in one of his lectures says that today's administrators, they send the poor men on the battlefield and to fight while they are smoking cigarettes in their offices. So this is today's administrators, which are not very Kshatriya-like. They are just seeking, and to them, the soldiers who are on the battlefield, they're just numbers. That is their attitude. And they are doing various kind of activities just for name, fame and glories. And they create all kind of disturbances. Srila Prabhupada back in 1970s predicted that we have seen, and we are seeing in the current times, that such administrators, when they lose their position, they don't want to give it up. They want all kind of, they create all kind of disturbances. They provoke the less intelligent people who are falling like a blind, falling a blind. So again, what will happen to such followers who are blind? So these blind people, yet at the same time, devotees also don't go out, propagating this very strongly, because in the Shastras, this is also explained that if you give good instructions to a fool, it will only agitate the fool, right? अगर आप किसी बेवकूफ व्यक्ति को अच्छे उपदेश दोगे तो वो बेवकूफ व्यक्ति सिर्फ गुस्सा ही होगा, और ऐसे में आपके instructions भी useless रहे. It's like putting clarified butter, which is a very potent thing, on ashes, right? Ashes में क्या फायदा होगा? It will only create mess. So ऐसे में we have to be very careful. That's why devotees, they don't go to the nightclubs, they don't go to places where there are so many materialists engaging in so many abominable activities. Yet at the same time, we also heard yesterday, Arjun ke example say, because the devotees are even more merciful, that when we go on Sankirtan, we want to chant the holy name, Hare Kṛṣna, Kṛṣna Kṛṣna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, in the association of devotees, so that the whole world can hear it and get purified. So this is mercy of the Acharya, this is mercy of Kṛṣna, that we have received. We are able to hear this transcendental sound vibration and engage in the chanting of transcendental sound vibration. So Lord Kṛṣna, He purifies us, He bestows His mercy on us. And sometimes people say, Prabhuji, you should put a big picture. Why do you have a small deities right beside you of Lord Damodar, right? Vaishlamai binding Lord Kṛṣna with a rope. Well, it is the consciousness, because it is inspiring to us to see that one who is invincible, right? Bhagavan Kṛṣna, he is invincible, उनको कोई नहीं हरा सकता. But माँ का प्यार, by love and devotion, by sincere endeavor, by simple service, by simplicity, with pure love, we can win over Lord Shri Krishna. That's Mother Yashoda inspiring us to make the right endeavor. And then Lord, by His causeless mercy, allows Himself to be bound. So this is also to realize that no matter what we do, we cannot say that we have qualified ourselves and the Lord must do this, but rather it is Lord's causeless mercy. He should be happy with our love, with our devotion, and so He Himself allows Himself to be bound. In the case of Arjun, he agrees to become his charioteer. So again, this is Lord's mercy that He is taking on the position to be the charioteer of Arjun, to become, He is the master, He is Achyuta, He never falls down in carrying out all of His duties. Just because He has become charioteer doesn't mean that He is servant, He is always the master. Just like a father, he sometimes becomes a horse and allows the baby, the son, to ride on him. So the baby appears to be the master, but no, in reality, the baby has not become the father of his father. The baby is still the son of his father. The father's affection is shown. This is love of Lord Shri Krishna, His compassion. So we should take those examples. Now here, in this chapter, there are two important questions being discussed. The first question is asked by Shaunaka Rishi, that when Maharaj Parīkṣit, he heard that Kali age has come and it is beating on a bull and a cow, so why did Maharaj Parīkṣit, just punish him? So it appeared like the punishment wasn't, just punishing is not enough for Kali, personified, according to Shaunaka Rishi. And he's also identifying that this Kali was dressed as a king, and he was striking the legs of a cow. Gau Mata ko paon pe, he was hurting her. So this is also showing us the symptom of this Kali age. In this Kali age, cow slaughter. Srila Prabhupada in one of his lectures said that there are so many animals you can, eat if you are eating meat. Why eat cow? Cow is one of the 7 mothers. And she provides us milk. And from her milk, you can make hundreds of thousands of different preparations. And it's a miracle food. Milk, cow's milk is a miracle food. And it is nourishing for our body, for our brain, and we can, use it in serving Lord Shri Krishna as well. Lord Krishna what is his activity in Golok Vrindavan? Surbhiya Vipalyantam. He is always tending to the cows. He is known as a Gwala, Gopala, right? Govinda. All these names are related to cows. Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the cows. And currently, what we see with the cow slaughtering going on, the slaughterhouses have been opened, that they are hurting the cows, giving her pain instead of pleasure. Well, how can Lord Krishna be happy with such people? So these are the effects of Kali age that in the current times that we see. While Lord is known by the name Gopala. Gopal means who tends to the cows, who takes care of the cows. So again, so many other aspects are there. Hare Krishna. And it seems that the microphone is not effective. Hare Krishna.
No, it is effective, just that volume.
So, yeah, I'm really trying to speak very loudly.
Should I detach?
Yeah, just detach. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So here we are hearing as how in Kali age means all these bad things are going on. So Parīkṣit Maharaj, he is going. And to punish this Kali which has appeared dressed like a king, all bedecked with gold and silken clothes. So this is materialistic man. They are dressed very nicely. But their activities, they are abominable, right? Because they are seeking self-gratification. So even there is hope. And this is where Acharyas reveal that even a dog, when it takes shelter, even a cat or a dog, when they take shelter of a devotee, a pure devotee of Lord Shri Krishna, they can become liberated. So yes, even if we may have engaged in such activities, we should give up those activities, of sense gratification, of meat eating, of intoxication, of gambling, and illicit relation. We should give it up and take shelter of a pure devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. So take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Then there is hope for us, and we can switch the board from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. So yes, this is a calling by Lord Shri Krishna, and especially in this chapter, this calling is very nicely identified in the purpose by Srila Prabhupada, that all of us have great hope, great benediction. We may have performed various abominable activities in our past many births, millions of births. The kind of impressions we have on sense gratification, we can give all of that up and we can take to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. We can take to God consciousness. We can take to devotional service. And which, when taking to devotional service or when seeking in that direction, the process is very simple. It simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So similarly we hear in this chapter, so when Parīkṣit Maharaj, Sutta Goswami is describing that Parīkṣit Maharaj, so he is going to give the answer that why did Parīkṣit Maharaj just punish this Kali personified. The Kali personified is appearing like a king, but he is actually a Shudra and his activities are abominable as well. So that will be answered in the next chapter. However, in this chapter, some amazing realities have been identified. And those realities are related to the next question, question number 22 that occurs in the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. स्कंद 1 पे ये 22वां क्वेश्चन है. ये क्वेश्चन है धर्म, husband of Bhumi. He is asking, so the bull in the form of bull, Dharma has taken the form of bull, and the cow, the Bhumi, the mother earth, has taken the form of cow, and this Kali is hitting on the legs of the bull and the cow. So at that time, bull is seeing that Bhumi, she is crying, right? When you heard the husband, the wife generally cries. So he's asking, why are you crying? Are you crying because of my pitiable condition? Why are you looking so black, so dark, so gloomy? So the impact is that it's not a black cow. The aspect is when he's saying that why are you looking so black, as given in the translation by Srila Prabhupada, it refers to the context that the wife is looking very gloomy, the cow is looking very gloomy, right? And so as he's asking, because this Kali is hitting on the fourth leg of the bull, Dharma. So there are 4 legs of Dharma. What are these 4 legs? Austerity. With the going of Satyuga, in Satyuga all 4 legs were well established. So bull was standing, Dharma was standing on its 4 legs very strongly. But with the going of Satyuga, Treta Yuga, the austerity went away. So that's why people cannot meditate the way they were able to meditate in Satyuga. In Satyuga, people could meditate because their lifespan was 100,000 years. So they could meditate for 10,000 years. Vishwamitra meditated for 60,000 years. Pachetas meditated for 10,000 years. And then they were able to see the Lordship and get benediction. But you cannot do that austerity anymore because with the going of Satyuga, that level of meditation we cannot perform. It is very difficult in the current age. So with the coming of Treta Yuga, so when the transition happened, Treta Yuga, people could perform fire sacrifices because cleanliness was still there. So the second leg of the bull is cleanliness. Because cleanliness was there, people could perform fire sacrifice and they could attain knowledge and detachment and liberation from this material life. With the going of Treta Yuga, as a transition to Dwapar Yuga, cleanliness went away. So there are 6 types of cleanliness we have discussed. You can refer to that in other lectures on YouTube, on our channel, at Anand Rupa Devidasi's channel. And so the third kind, mercy was still there. Bhagwan ki kripa. Lord Kṛṣṇa himself advented in Kali Yuga, right? He himself was present. So people could serve his lotus feet. We could serve him directly. So people could serve him directly. And Parichayayam. Dwapare Parichayayam. So in Dwapar Yuga, people could go on pilgrimage. Vidurji went on pilgrimage. Arjun went on pilgrimage. Balramji went on pilgrimage. So they're showing by their examples to go on. Uddhava was sent on pilgrimage to Badrikashram by Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. We'll hear about that more in 11th canto, in Uddhav Gita, near the end. So as why he was sent. These are great amazing lessons we hear in Srimad-Bhagavatam. These are transcendental messages. So they could go on pilgrimage. Deity worship in the temples, that became opulent in Dwapar Yuga. And then Kalavata Dhari Kirtana, but in Kali age, All we have to do is we can attain all the benedictions of previous ages just by engaging in congregational chanting, Sankirtan Yajna, the most magnificent incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna, Shri Gaurasundar, Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He established this for the current age, which is chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So, in this age, we see that just, you don't even have to go out and traveling, right? And it is, the Vaishnavacharya is one of the songs we hear, it is only, Jiva Goswami, it is Narottam Das Thakur is saying that it is, जो pilgrimage पे जा रहे हैं, that is only manabhrama. It is only to satisfy the mind. Rather, we can just be where we are and engage in chanting of the holy name, engage in devotional service. So that is also an instruction coming from the acharyas. So even in the time of pandemic, people are constantly engaged in devotional service, constantly glorifying the Lordship, constantly worshipping the deities at their homes, constantly singing kirtans, constantly dancing, constantly offering bhogas to the Lordship, constantly enjoying. I would say sometimes enjoying, and people would say from a materialistic mindset, this is very interesting. And this enjoying is for our purification, that the spirit soul, we, the living entity in the body, we are getting nourishment, proper nourishment when we taste prasad through the body. So the body gets prasad, gets purified, and everything becomes anukul, favorable for us to engage in devotional service. And that is a favorable situation where we should be taking shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Engaging in devotional service, bhakti में जब हम इस तरह से लीन होते हैं, तब हमको बहुत भगवान के आशीर्वाद मिलते हैं, बहुत ब्लेसिंग्स मिलती हैं, भगवान से मार्गदर्शन मिलता है, भगवान से एनकरेजमेंट मिलता है, और हम लोग इतने ज़्यादा एंथुसियास्टिक हो जाते हैं कि ऑनलाइन आ जाते हैं और एक दूसरे को एनकरेज करते हैं, right? So this is a positive thing in our life, and this is the yajna for this age, the sacrifice for this age, and this sacrifice is done, and joyfully, actually joyfully, but I add "n" because it is saying association. So enjoy refers to when more than one person is doing it. Similarly, kirtan, a person can do it alone, but sankirtan, congregation chanting, more than one person is doing alone. So you and I, we are all engaged in sankirtan yajna. And so he's asking, the bull, Dharma, is asking that now he is hitting my last leg. All three legs are already gone. Austerity, cleanliness, and mercy, they are gone. They're already broken because of the leaving of different ages, the influences. And now the fourth leg, truthfulness. Kali, he's a king dressed as Shudra. Actually, he's a Shudra dressed as a king. He is hitting the fourth leg, the truthfulness. So in the Kali age, even truthfulness goes down. And finally, the recycling happens at the age of Kali age. So this is very interesting. I'm saying recycling, Shastra says destruction, and so that the 4-yuga cycle is over, and again Satyuga is established, where all 4 legs are again re-established after the appearance of Kalki, avatar of Lord Shri Krishna. And Kalki avatar still has a lot of time, 420 some years, 1,000 years. So we have to understand from that perspective. So here he's asking that after making various kind of inquiries, where the bull, Dharma is in the form of bull, is identifying the various abominable activities that the human beings carry out in material consciousness, wrong kind of samskaras, the perverted reflection of samskaras, seeking sense gratification, focusing on that. One of the samskara I wanted to also identify is like when you pass out, graduate from your college or your school, then the samskara is, oh, you have achieved something. But the samskara at that time in Krishna consciousness in Vedic culture was, now that you have qualified yourself with the right knowledge, apply it to encourage the students who have achieved that qualification to apply it for the benefit of society. So that everyone becomes Krishna conscious, everyone carries out their duty very nicely. And sometimes people say, oh, this is only for the Brahmanas. They were the twice born, because as a human being, if you are born, you should get two births. The first birth is everybody takes it, Srila Prabhupada explains. Even the cats and dogs, they get this first birth, which is by the mating of father and mother. So everybody gets that. But that's not the true birth for a human being. Then it's at the level that birth is like the birth of cats and dogs. One should also try to become qualified to get the second birth. And second birth applies to the three varnas. What are the three varnas? For Kshatriya, Brahman and Vaishya. So mercantile man, the administrators and the scholars. All three classes should get proper qualification, and they should get initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. That is essential. The second birth is essential for spiritual advancement. And this is called initiation, right? Diksha. So again, D refers to getting the knowledge for further advancement. So Diksha is to get that chakshur, again. Param Drishtva Nivartate. This is to get that higher vision, the higher taste. So Drishtva refers to Drishti, right? It's derived from Drishti. So we should all be seeking and making sure that we qualify ourselves, so we take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and get initiated, and so we will be able to purify our life. And initiation means entrance into the spiritual life. It doesn't mean that you have become qualified. In material consciousness, person will think, okay, I am initiated, now I am one of the devotees, you treat me nicely, okay? That is sense gratification. That's a sahajiya mindset. Don't take to that mindset. Don't get trapped by Maya in that mode. Rather, as a devotee, now that I am initiated, when I am purified, I should stay purified. Rather, purify myself more and purify everyone around me. That is the responsibility of a devotee. So, devotee is constantly engaging in devotional service and performing it in such a wonderful manner that people feel encouraged in engaging in devotional service. So, this is sometimes we see that when there is a great writer, when he writes something, many other people want to write on that subject. And so this is the lesson we are hearing. We talked about through samskaras, where the Buddha is explaining the ill effects of this Kali age. How the administrators have fallen down, how the mercantile men, they are taking to cheating in greedy dealings, and they're cheating people of the right information. And the Brahmanas, they have taken shelter of such bad administrators, so they have given up the Brahmanical culture. And people who have scholarly abilities, they are engaging in name, fame and glory. So everything is in material consciousness, and that is the effect of Kali age. While in Krishna consciousness, everything is sublime, because everyone is engaging in congregation, chanting, Sankirtan India, calling out to the Lordship for His mercy, with love, with devotion, and overcoming the effects of the Kali age. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Now there are 40 some qualities that the cow lists to the bull. So Mother Bhumi, she is listing in the form of cow. And these listing, and then she is saying that Lord has all these qualities and many more. So Srila Prabhupada refers that these are the qualities she is listing that the human beings can perceive and can follow in the current age. Just by following this, we can purify our very existence. So again, of them, taking shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, always being humble, being tolerant, being truthful, being simple, being clean. These are some of the great qualities, right? And the Brahmanical qualities are related to this, being tolerant, being truthful, and reading the bona fide scriptures. So we should take to this chanting of the holy name. We should take to the glorifications of name, form and activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. We should take to the hearing of Srimad-Bhagavatam, reading Srimad-Bhagavatam, glorifying Srimad-Bhagavatam, and so our life will become sublime, it will become blissful, and we will easily overcome by Lord's causeless mercy the effects of the Kali age. Hare Krishna, this is where we would like to end this chapter. Gantha Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnava ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Do we have like 5 minutes to answer some questions?
Yes.
Hare Krishna, friends. You can write your questions in comments if you have some questions. Meanwhile, Prabhuji, can you give some insight? ये भक्ति के प्रोसेस में हम अपना enthusiasm कैसे रख, अपना उत्साह कैसे डेवलप कर सकते हैं?
Actually, you can develop utsaha, encouragement, enthusiasm when you are associating with devotees, right? When you are in the company of a thief, you become a thief. When you are in the company of drunkard, you become a drunkard. When you are in company of an enthusiastic group of devotees, you become enthusiastic. Very simple. Then second is, understand the motivation is self-improvement. That we get to the place which is called Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means there is no misery. So if you are in any kind of misery, understand that you should make sincere endeavor to get to a place where there is no misery. And that will give us enthusiasm. So there are many ways. By engagement in devotional service, by taking to the chanting of the holy name attentively, increases our enthusiasm. With that attentiveness, with that attraction, with that affection, with that absorption in the chanting. Hare Krishna.
That was a nice understanding कि to have enthusiasm in the doing bhakti for Krishna, we can get it from the devotees by performing services in their association, also by praying to Krishna, chanting the holy names, we can pray to have some enthusiasm. And other processes of bhakti भी करने से eventually जिस भी service को करते हैं उसमें enthusiasm आता है. Hare Krishna. There is one more question by Renu Sharma ji. She is asking, Prabhuji, how can we balance our material existence and spiritual existence? Although Bhagavad Gita emphasizes on our spiritual existence and considers us as a soul which does not feel thirst or hunger or cannot be destroyed, but we have a body or material existence too in this life, due to which we feel hunger, thirst, need for care and other needs. So I really want to know how to balance both material existence and spiritual existence without making them mutually exclusive.
Yes.
So basically, in one sentence, she wants to know how to keep a balance between spiritual life and material life.
Hare Krishna. I'll give it in two parts. One with an analogy. You are in a car, you are on a journey. Yes, you are very nicely fed. You will never feel hunger and thirst. That's like the Jiva. But the car is this material body, right? The car needs maintenance, regular maintenance. The car needs fuel, right? The car needs making sure everything is working nicely. You cannot overrun the car, overheat the car, because then it will break down. And if you don't use the car with the right purpose, you will lose its very existence, the very purpose you got it for. So the human birth is rare. So we have to take care of the car. And a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. So yes, but we should not over endeavor in decorating the body, right? That is like the jewel on a snake head of a snake. So that is also we should try to avoid. Yet at the same time, what is important is the driver of the car. That is us. So we have to align our prescribed duties with our constitutional positions are Sanatan Dharma, Swadharma with Sanatan Dharma. जब हम इन दोनों को बैलेंस करते हैं तब सब ठीक रहता है. ऐसे में क्या इंस्ट्रक्शन है भगवान के? ये दूसरा पार्ट है. भगवान कहते हैं यत् करोषि यदश्नासि यत् जुहोषि तदासि यत् तपस्यसि कौन्तेय तत् कुरुष्व मद अर्पणम. भगवान को ऑफर करते हुए करना है. क्या करना है? जो भी करो, whatever you do, Yat Karoshi. So all our activities, we can perform activities with body, minds and words. These are the three ways. So all the activities that we perform should be done as an offering to Lord Shri Krishna. So before performing any activity, we should think, is it something that I can offer to Lord Shri Krishna? Is it like a flower at his lotus feet? Or is it going to be like a thorn at his lotus feet? Right? So the activities can take either shape. So we have to think it. That will it please Lord Shri Krishna or will it pain Lord Shri Krishna? So we should do more and more activities that please Lord Shri Krishna. That is like offering flowers at his lotus feet, not place thorns at his lotus feet, because they will pain Lord Shri Krishna, and that will bring us down. That will not please the soul as well. Hare Krishna. So this is the second aspect. Yat karoshi. So whatever we do it to please Lord Shri Krishna. Yadashnasi yajyoshi tadasi yat tapasas. Whatever we offer, whatever we give away, whatever we have, everything that we sacrifice should be done to please Lord Shri Krishna as a sacrifice. Hare Krishna. Hopefully this answers your question.
So Prabhuji provided the insight, Renuji, that in order to have a balance between spiritual and material existence, we dovetail everything in our material lives as an offering to Bhagwan. Then automatically everything is spiritualized, and there is a perfect harmony, there is a perfect balance, and we are living a spiritual life, and we make spiritual advancement. Hare Krishna. Friends, you can ask few more questions. We have 5 more minutes. If you have any questions related to bring an improvement in spiritual life, you can ask Jiva Tattva Prabhu right now. Prabhu ji ne aaj Canto 1, Chapter 16, Srimad-Bhagavatam का किया है, जिसमें highlight has been how by serving the Lord with love and devotion, we can overcome all the sufferings, we can overcome all the miseries of this life, and we can make this life perfect. Hare Krishna. I don't see any more questions, Prabhuji. So just one more topic, if you can give some insight on this. So if we study Srimad-Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, and जो इस तरह के 5 potent forms of devotional services हैं, जो कि है reading Srimad-Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names, doing deity worship, associating with the devotees, and visiting the holy dham. तो staying at holy धाम. तो ये सब एक्टिविटीज़ को करने के लिए डिटर्मिनेशन भी चाहिए होता है, एंथुसियाज्म भी चाहिए होता है, जो कि हमें डिवोटी एसोसिएशन से मिलता है. यहाँ पे काफ़ी लोग कमेंट्स में पूछते हैं कि उनके पास में कहीं मंदिर नहीं है, तो उन्हें डिवोटी एसोसिएशन कहाँ से मिले और वो फिर भक्ति में कैसे एंगेज करें.
Hare Krishna. So again, devotee association is there. We just have to open our eyes to it. Srila Prabhupada कहते हैं देवर्षि नारद, he was very glad that देवर्षि नारद appeared on the pages of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So just by reading the scriptures, we are directly associating with Srila Prabhupada. We are associating with the great devotees of Lord Shri Krishna like देवर्षि नारद, Vyasdev, and so many other, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj. We are getting direct association when we glorify. And Srila Prabhupada, his transcendental purports are revealing. From him we are getting direct instructions, and Lord Srila Prabhupada did say that I will live in the future ages through my books. So he is alive in his books. We should not just think that these books are just piece of paper with some ink sprinkled on it. We should understand that this is Srila Prabhupada, right? This is the difference of material consciousness and Krishna consciousness, that even the words of Acharyas give us the association of Acharyas, the great instructions we get. And Srila Bilva Mangal Thakur, he, even among his instructing spiritual masters, his Shiksha Gurus, he counts Chintamani's name, who was actually a prostitute, who actually showed him the path to Krishna consciousness. So yes, we should understand that we can definitely get association by coming online and reading Srila Prabhupada's books and the bona fide scriptures. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So प्रभु जी ने बताया हमें determined और enthusiastic रहने के लिए इस beautiful भक्ति के पाथ पे to please Krishna, इसके लिए हमें devotee association मिल सकता है फ्रॉम श्रीला प्रभुपाद हिमसेल्फ. अगर हमारे आसपास कोई लोकल टेम्पल नहीं है, हम डायरेक्ट किसी डिवोटीज से इंटरेक्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं अपनी रियल लाइफ में, तो हम डिवोटीज से ऑनलाइन इंटरेक्ट कर सकते हैं. हम श्रीला प्रभुपाद की बुक्स पढ़ सकते हैं, और बुक्स में जब हम भगवान के पास टाइम्स पढ़ते हैं तो जो सारी एग्जॉल्टेड पर्सनालिटीज़ हैं, जैसे कि परीक्षित महाराज, नारद मुनि जी, ध्रुव महाराज, प्रहलाद महाराज और बहुत सारी पर्सनालिटीज़, हमें उनका डायरेक्ट एसोसिएशन मिलता है जो कि डिवोटी एसोसिएशन है, और इस तरह हमारी रैपिड स्पिरिचुअल एडवांसमेंट होता है. हरि बोल. आई होप आप सभी को इन लेसन्स और टीचिंग से बहुत बेनिफिट मिल रहा है. और with this we would like to end the session here.
कंत्रा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला भगवत्पाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गो प्रेमानंदे. हरि हरि बोल. हरे कृष्णा.